Hello and welcome to another weekly update. I hope you're doing well. Couple of things to tell you about this week. The first of which is a brand new update to the SharePoint Framework 1.19. The thing that really caught my eye about this is some changes to Viva Connection cards, which I think are really cool. But I think they, when they first came out, they were great and they filled a particular need. But the feedback almost immediately was, we want to do more with these. We've got more ideas and we've got things that we want to show, and that's hard. There's a big change coming up in 1.19, which I think will address some of that. So here's Vasa's blog post, Vasa Juvonen, on the Microsoft 365 platform blog, and some key capabilities. This top one, look at those graphs, visualizations in cards. I think this is going to be really cool. So there's an example there, like a tutorial to help you get started with doing that. I can think of all sorts of really cool use cases for this now, like spark lines to quickly show information, which is exactly what you want on your Viva Connections homepage. And there's other changes as well, some other big things, support for Webpack 5, a bunch of other sort of changes that they've made as well. And so I think it's really cool. There's a video as well you can watch about how to kind of use this new kind of card layout, lots of other things. And so that's the big thing, I think, for me, is the SharePoint Framework update has got those cool new visualizations in. Go get it, especially if you've been trying to kind of do that visualization, because it's been kind of a bit tricky up until now. That's really, really good news. So very pleased to see that. And if you're using SPFx already, this is kind of an easy update to go and get. And if you're not, actually that blog post I just referenced that you can find in the notes actually has a bunch of good information underneath about what SharePoint Framework is and how you can get it and how you can get started. So lots of good resources there. Next thing to talk about, you might have seen this in the news, depending on kind of which tech news you follow and don't, whatever. Satya Nadella has accompanied all of Microsoft to say that security is really important. Now, we had one of these security initiatives once before, and we've got another one now. And this is kind of led from the top, essentially. Satya saying security is really important. And what I found interesting is that kind of he laid out, I think, in the last paragraph, like really explicitly, if you're faced with the trade-off between security and another priority, your answer is clear: do security. So that trumps release dates. It trumps, trumps promises to customers, releasing new features. Specifically, he mentions providing ongoing support for legacy systems. So we may see security used as a justification for kind of some legacy support ending. But like, this is a very clear announcement. The entire email has been published officially by Microsoft on their corporate blogs, because it did make a significant attention in the news. So I thought this was interesting, and so it's worth a read just because like it affects us all so deeply, how Microsoft operates and stuff. So I think it's worth the read to understand how everybody inside Microsoft is thinking about security now and how it has become, again, a real top priority. Now, there's a sort of an argument that it should always be a priority, and I think Microsoft would say that too. I don't think they've forgotten about security or anything like that, but I think I can imagine it must be really hard if you're like a product manager and you're facing deadlines, you're facing customers, and you have to make these hard decisions. Now you have something that you can point at as your justification for saying, actually, we are going to slow down a little bit. We are going to address these security gaps because it's really important. So I think that's a really good email for everybody inside Microsoft to have to use as the justification. So I'm pleased that it exists. All right, what else? Microsoft Build is coming up soon, towards the end of this month, 21st to 24th, and the session catalog is out now, so you can go and look through the sessions. The sessions are being added all the time, so you can look now and then you can look later. And again, it's the standard session catalog that we're used to from Microsoft, which means you can search at the top for all sorts of things. Sessions, you remember, you can search for people's names. If there's particular speakers you're interested in hearing from, you can search for product names, you can search for just kind of descriptive names, all sorts of things. It very often is not the finalized list, especially if there are announcements coming. So what Microsoft will often do is placeholder sessions until a big announcement. So it's almost worth waiting for it's worth looking at the session catalog now, then it's worth looking immediately following the opening keynote, because you might find actually a whole bunch of new sessions have popped up about the thing that's just been announced. And that's entirely deliberate. So it'll be interesting to see the build keynote. Satya's there, Kevin Scott and Raja Shah. So it's going to be AI heavy, but it'll be interesting to see how it's being pitched this year compared to, say, last year. Because last year Microsoft, made an awful lot of commitments, and they've been delivering on them this year. So I guess we'll get a kind of wrap up of where we're at, and then what we've got to come in the rest of 2024. So that will be definitely worth a watch, and that is 21st of May. Registration is free for online. There is in person as well. That is not free, but if you're in the area, or you can be in the area, that's definitely worth checking out. But yeah, lots of good sessions in there. I'm going to do probably a separate blog post and video going through the session catalog and picking out the stuff I'm interested in. But we've got a few other things happening before then, such as the European Collaboration Summit and the European Cloud Summit, which are coming up the week after next as well. So lots of conferences kicking off now. It's definitely well into conference season. The last thing I want to leave you with is kind of like a bit of weekend reading. It's a bank holiday, it's a public holiday here in the UK, so everyone's got a little bit of time on their hands. And if you're not doing projects somewhere else and you want to just have a read, this I found really interesting. It's all about Azure Static Web Apps. Now, I've used Static Web Apps before. In fact, I used them last week. But I kind of have got into a rut, if you like, of just using them for hosting websites, like front ends of websites, linked to GitHub, nice and easy. Actually, there's so many more things you can do with them. And I found this blog post really interesting. So it's by Bart Williams, and it's about app data API builder. But what it is a whole series of parts of I can't do Roman. Hang on, I'll show my screen. Can't do Roman numerals. 17. There's 16 previous parts. This is the 17th. But this is a great collection of cool things that you can do with Azure Static Web Apps that I'd never really thought about, or I haven't really dug into. So really kind of cool. There's an awful lot of things you can do to really make static web apps sing, much more than just hooking up to GitHub Actions and having a nice front end, like place to host your front end. So I thought that was really interesting. It's not something I've really dug into a lot, but it's definitely one of those things to have in the back of your head as forming part of a potential future architecture. Okay, that's everything from me. I think, like I say, I'll try and do a blog post this week about Microsoft Build, but we'll see how it goes, because there's lots of things coming up. And I'm hoping also to talk to the dev proxy guys in the next couple of days as well. So that will be a video that will go out on LinkedIn and on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well. All in all, though, I hope you have a good week, whatever it is you're doing in the UK. Nice short week, which is great, isn't it? Although you apparently still have to get the same amount of work done. Who knew? Yeah, so there's that. And then the week after next, the next week after this one, we'll be into conferencing for the European Collab and Cloud Summits. Right, everything from me. I think I'm going to leave you to have a great rest of your day, whatever it is you're doing, and I will speak to you again next time.